Hey guys, welcome to chessroads.com. Okay, today I'm gonna show you a legendary game played between Paul Morphy and Morphy Alonzo in the year 1849 in New Orleans tournament. Okay, here Morphy is white. He played e4, e5, knight f3, knight c6, bishop c4, bishop c5. This was the standard position of a Geico piano opening. Here he played a variation called b4. This is called Ivan's Gambit, a very popularized variation. It was very popularized in the later half of 18th century. In modern theory, we often see some of the top players usually play this Ivan's Gambit. So this now black simply can't take with knight because the pawn on e5 is hanging, so he have to capture with bishop into c4. The main idea of giving this pawn is to attack the bishop and taking control over the center. So he played c3, bishop c5, d4. Now after e into d4, c into d4, now white gains the center control, and for that he just gave this pawn and all the white pieces are ready to develop and he can castle immediately. So now in this position we often see a move like bishop b4, but here Morphy Alonzo played bishop b6 and castles. After castling he played knight a5, bishop d3 and knight e7. He simply wants to castle and try to protect his king. Okay, after knight e7, knight c3, castling. Now he played bishop a3. Now you can clearly see the reason Ivan's Gambit is played. All the white pieces have been developed to a very good square, and also having a great center, but now black is facing some problems in development of his pieces, and also not a great center he's having. So he played d6. Now he want to develop the bishop on c8, so white played e5. Now there is no bishop g4 because after bishop into h7 he simply loses with knight g5 check and queen into g4. So he tries to exchange with bishop f5 and e d6. Now black cannot take bishop into d3 because there is a threat of d into e7, so we have to capture with c into d6 and knight e4. After knight e4, black played a mistake by playing d5. At this position, just try to pause this game for a while and try to see this how white will continue in this position. Okay, I hope you got the move. Yes, that is knight f6 check. Right, the reason why he gave this check because he simply wants to double the pawn on the king side, and the other thing is he will get the piece back by playing bishop into e7, attacking the queen, and he can grab this by playing bishop into f5. So white will get his piece back and he opens the king of black. So g into f6 is forced, or else he can simply play bishop into e7 and bishop into f5. So bishop into e7, queen into e7, bishop into f5, now knight c4 was played. So after knight c4, white simply played rook e1, attacking the queen on e7. In this position, I think knight h4 is very easy winning for white. The idea, if knight h4, he can simply go to queen h5. For example, if you play knight h4, knight d6, queen h5, threatening queen into h7, maybe knight into f5, knight into f5. Now queen on e7 is attacked. He can simply give checkmate like this. To prevent this, if he plays queen e4, simply rook a e1, attacking the queen. So queen have to prevent queen g4. So queen f4 and rook e3 wins the game. So here white simply missed that and played rook e1 and queen d6. Now white played one more great brilliant move in this position. I think most of us will not see this type of move in our modern chess. Instead of knight h4, he simply played another move. Just try to analyze this position for a while and find out the move. Okay, here he played knight e5. The reason why he played Morphy is like he wants to attack every moment of his game aim on his king on. So he likes to open up the files ranks and he doesn't likes to keep his pieces. So after f into e5, he simply played queen g4 check, king h8, queen h5, and here king g7 was played. Both players are just checking whether they are playing for a draw. So here black doesn't like to play for a draw. He changed the move to h6. So after h6, rook into e5. This was a third brilliant move played by Paul Morphy in this position. I think this position is simply better for black, but still it is very hard. One should say this position is pretty hard to defend from black side. Now the threatening of rook e5 is to simply play rook e6 and queen h6, queen h7 is a checkmate. So I have to grab with knight into e5, g into e5. If you capture with queen into e5, queen h6 and queen h7, so queen c6 was played and e6. Now the threat of queen h6 and queen h7, so king g7, supporting the h6 pawn. Okay, now all the white pieces are gone. Now white is just a rook down and he doesn't know how to continue his attack. So just try to analyze for a few moments. In this position there is no much options for white. We all know either this rook on a1 should be joining the attack, and or else there should be another piece or a pawn that can help the white attack. First of all, to do that he doesn't need to be having a back rank weakness, so he played a move g4, a very good move. Now he's threatening to play g5 and he wants to gain control of this king. Check on h7 maybe, or check on g5. So queen c3 was played, attacking the rook on a1. Now I think Morphy played one more slight mistake, but most of us cannot see. He just continued his attack by playing g5, leaving the rook on a1 not without any support. So he took queen into a1 and king g7, king g2. Now the threat of queen into h6, queen h7 looks very dangerous. But I think here Morphy Alonzo could simply play king g8 and defend the position by playing queen back to g7. Or if you captures, simply he can play more like, if you captures with queen, he can play with queen g7. If you captures with pawn, he can simply play a move like king h8 and there will be no check. So he missed it and thought that he is going to get mated, so he gave his queen back. So after queen f6, g into f6, king into f6, e into f7, rook into f7, queen g6 check, king e7, queen e6 check, king f8, queen h6 check. The reason why I am playing all these moves very fast is simple. These are all like forced moves, and black cannot avoid any of these moves, or even white cannot do anything much about this position. So here he played rook g7 check and bishop g6. At this position also, I think black is pretty okay. The only problem is the king on f8 is exposed very much. So he played king g8, not allowing any sort of checks or any other thing. Now he moves. White simply wants to protect this bishop and wants to continue his attack. So he posed just last pawn h4. Remember, f4 can also be played, but it doesn't help after any moves like rook f8 or even bishop d8, and f6 can also be played later, or even bishop d4. So h4, he simply wants to play h5, move his queen back, h5 h6, trying to attack even the last pawns. So d4. Now black is equally replying. He wants to make this pawn as a queen. So h5, d3. So now white have to move his queen g5, the threat of queen d5 and queen into pawn. So he simply plays rook g8, supporting this g3 pawn and also ready to promote for a queen. So h6 was played, d2, and now white cannot take this h into g7, because after queen there is no more moves for white that can make him winning position. So he played queen f6. He kept a checkmate in one move, and rook queen f6 and rook g d7, bishop f5, a good move. I thought of just asking you what you'll play after rook g7, but it's okay. Bishop f5 is also a logical continuation in view of bishop e6 check. So d1 queen, and pause this position and try to finish the remaining moves, which are pretty easy, I guess. Okay, here h7 was played, h7 check. Now if you cannot move the king, you have to capture with rook. Bishop e6 check. There is no move for king. Rook f7 is forced. Bishop into f7 is check. King h7, queen g6 check, king h8, and queen h6 is a checkmate. Okay, I hope you enjoyed this game. This was a very good tactical game played between Paul Morphy and Morphy Alonzo in the year 1849. This was one of the great memorable game in this 18th century. Hope you enjoy the game. See you in the next class.